Hold on. Okay.
All right. Good evening, folks. Tonight we have the pleasure of our very own Brian Evans. He's going to show us how to make a homemade screw chuck, then attach a piece of wood to it, and make a nice pear, an apple, or something out of it. And I'm going to let Brian take it over because he can do it a lot better than I can.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian, just one more quick. For those of you coming to the Christmas party, I'm sorry, I totally forgot this.
Sorry.
Be sure and bring your ticket this year. I know it's one of those things we never collect, but actually we want you to put your name on them and put them into a bucket when you get to the Christmas party. We're going to have a drawing on just the tickets that you purchase for a prize. So if you come, please bring your ticket with you and put your name on the back and put it in the bucket. We'll have a bucket there. So sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Last month I was in Fort Worth at the Woodturners in North Texas, and Dick and June were there to hear me reminisce about being a member of that club many decades ago. And I was telling them my memories of the folks that were in the club at that time, and what I remembered was that they were cheap, and they did not want to spend money. So they, those guys and women made a lot of their own tools and equipment. So when John called me and asked me to do a demo, I thought I would show you how you could make something that would help you do your project. And so that's going to be a screw chuck. And the sole purpose of this screw chuck is just to put a dimple in the bottom of an apple. And I'm not trying, this is not a demo to try to get you all to turn apples. This is a demo to show you how easy it is, I hope, to make some of your own equipment and your own tools and not have to go out and spend a lot of money all the time. Okay, so this is a project that we learned from Jean-Francois Escalon in Jimmy Arledge's shop years ago. And the key, it's interesting, the key to this whole project is the stem of the apple. So I'll pass that around in a minute. So I've got a piece of scrap wood in the chuck here. Let's just flatten it out. Hopefully I can get used to the lathe and the height. Okay, so let's check and see what we've got. Yeah, okay, that's good. It's just a little concave. That's fine. And we have a nice surface, is what we want, because we're going to be putting the part of the apple next to this that's already finished sanded. Okay, so we don't want this to be rough. So now we will drill a hole in it. I'm using a center bit to get it started. But how does this work? There we go. Does everybody know what a center bit is? Okay. You got to know? I'll pass one around. So we're just... Okay, looks a little... We're going to find out tonight how accurate everything is here. Now, I said that the key to this is the stem. And so here I have a drill bit that is the size of the stem right here. The skinny part of the stem. Okay? Not see. Okay, there we go. Okay, up. The other way, yeah. The other up. This is a fractional size. I'm going to be talking about CDC some. This does not look, oh well, we'll see what we get. One thing you got to make sure is you go all the way through, because this is your only chance. And if you don't do it this time, then you're out of luck. Okay. There's a store on Beltline named CDC that we get a lot of things from. It is east of Central, next to Bruce Miller Nursery. And it's really a refurbished machine tools. It's for machinists. But we've got a lot of stuff that we can use there, like these center bits that I just used, and drill bits. This is a fractional drill bit. And so what I decided is the size that I wanted my stem, and then I went from there. Okay, so now, okay, I'm going to, it's just under 1/8 of an inch. You can do either way. It doesn't matter. You can decide. With me, I decided the size of stem that I wanted. And then I found a drill bit. And I'll tell you how you choose your drill bit in a minute. Okay, now I'm going to mark. So when I put this back in, I want to go in the same place. Okay, so the screw and the drill bit, here's how it has to work. This is what I want for my stem. Then you're going to have a screw that meets several criteria. First of all, it needs to be strong. Don't use drywall. This is I can't remember. Another kind of, this is a nice steel screw, sheet metal, that's what it is. And it is larger than this bit, okay? If you use the threads it's larger. But the core of this screw is smaller than the bit. So everybody understand? When I screw this apple into this, I do not want the core of this bit to touch the apple, only the threads. Does everybody understand how that works? And that's going to be any screw chuck that you make is going to be the same way. Okay? So, let's get it in here. Now I noticed what I used to help me drill this. Here's another example. I just happened to pick this up. Okay. Another chuck that you can make very easily. The jam chuck. Okay, so we have, this is done. And now we will make the apple. And if you would like, well, in this case, I've got it quite a ways because the threads do not stick out of this screw very much. But you'll just have to decide, depending on the job. I'll pass these around so you can see. I'm not going to really talk about the pear, which is also was shown by Escalon. You know, the key thing about this pear, though, you will see this stem. The first one I ever made, I put the stem straight up and down, and it did not look good. This really makes it. This one little bend there. Okay, and these stems are not in, so they're not glued in. Okay, so I usually, I have found that most of my apples, I make, now you'll have to forgive me because this does not work well. Most of my apples are 2 3/4 inches in diameter. Okay, now, why are we not going? Oh, okay, gotcha. But, as you know, when you go to the grocery store and look at apples, apples come in all sizes. So it doesn't really matter. Let me just get mine down to that size. 2 3/4. Okay. There. Let's just clean this off. We want it clean right where we, at the very top. Okay. Clean this up just a little. Now, you may notice that I am doing something wrong. Okay. We came down here. We were cutting, here's the grain like this. We were cutting this. And everything was fine. Here was the fibers. We got to the top of this and I started back in. And I am doing something they say you're not supposed to do. I'm cutting back into it. Okay. So, what I have found, if you have a sharp tool, then that, and if most woods, you can get a good cut that way. So I'm getting a good cut right here, so I can stay with that. There's something else going on here. Right where I'm turning to, the wood is going 2 different directions. Okay? Right here, it's coming this way, and it's holding your tool right down on the lathe, like this, okay? Over here, it's going up, and it's trying to catch your tool and do that to it, okay? So what I have done, I have changed to a, let's see, 1/4 inch gouge with a 1/4 inch gouge with a shallow flute here, so that I don't have big wings that I'll catch on the other side. Now, if you don't have that and you don't want it, you do not need to go out and buy one. Here's another tool that you can make in 5 minutes in your shop. It's a piece of 1/4 inch high-speed steel, and it cuts fine, and it does not have wings. So let me show you this. I have shown this to you before. It's very easy to make. It's a piece of 1/4 inch high-speed steel. Just has a little curve down to about the midpoint. I then grind off the heel, and then I put this in my sharpening system and grind it just as I would my spindle gouge, okay? And I have shown this to you before, but I will pass one around again. Okay? And like I say, you can make one of these in 5 minutes. So, if you don't like cutting, we've been doing the push cut here on both of those. If you don't like that, you can pretend that this is a goblet or a box, okay, and just drill in. Got our flute straight up. I can't quite see here. This lathe was made for somebody shorter than me, but I'm just drilling in, okay? Then I'm turning the tool over, bringing the handle around toward me, and then coming out, okay? And I'll do it again. Drill in. And come back out. Coming back toward the high point, okay? Everybody see that? And now I usually like to actually make this other cut all the way down. Let's see how this goes. You can hear the grain of this red oak. Maybe not the best choice for something that's mic'd up. Okay. So we've got, now, we need to put a little hole in here. This is where the stem is going to be, and also where we're going to put the screw chuck, right there. Here's another opportunity. This is a homemade vortex tool. This this probably took 10 minutes to make, okay? This is just a piece of high-speed steel that I had around. It was another tool. You can still see the vestiges of that other tool here. I didn't grind it all the way out, but you only really use the tips of these. So if you don't want to use your skew here, you can use the vortex tool to make this hole. So it's just another idea of something you can make quickly in your shop. And here's the thing. The tools I'm talking about, the one I'm just passing around, and this one, this is something that you might use to make finials for Christmas ornaments. Okay, so if you're making 4 Christmas ornaments a year, you don't need a $50 tool, okay? You can use this, and it'll work fine. Now, if you're making 100 or 80 Christmas ornaments a year and doing all those finials, you might want to spend $50 and get the fancy steel. So that's just the way I look at it. You use it 4 times a year, why spend all that money? Okay. So right now I've got my skew, which is a great negative rake scraper, and we have end grain here. Okay. So what we're going to do is, if we have any little bumps or problems here, we can just get them out like this. And you should be getting little shavings. Okay? This is only end grain. Okay? Okay, now the next thing you don't want to do, you do not want to forget to drill this hole, because it will not make your day. I can tell you that from experience. Okay, so we're going to start this again with the center bit. And see if I can, oh look, I actually found the drill bit. about, it looks like everything is a little off-center here. But we'll just see if we can deal with it when we turn this thing around. No, I think it's just something's off-center here. Although drilling into end grain can really be a problem sometimes. Okay. So now, let's see, is that okay? Now, usually my apples are shorter than they are fat. So let's just come back here. We'll mark this. And see just about where I want to be, maybe about right here. Okay. Get this a little smoother. Oh, that. Okay, I might come back here with that skew again, but I got a little better shape there. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. Now, let's shape this apple. Now, the only thing about the shape of this apple, as I said earlier, they're coming all shapes and sizes, is that you want to know where the fattest point is, okay? You do not, yeah, now I've seen them very high up here and right in the middle, all the way in around here. And they all look good, so don't worry about that. But you don't want the high point below center. That's the key. Okay, now I'm trying to get a nice curve here. And obviously we want this bottom part to be a little smaller than the top. But we're going to turn this around, and it looks to me like it's going to be a little off. When that thing went off, it looked like it was drilling a little crooked. So we're going to have two planes when I put this on the screw chuck, I think. So we'll have quite a bit more to turn. Where is there? I would have sanded it. I'm glad you brought that up. I would have finished sanded all this part because I can't get to that again. Okay, now remember we marked one of these jaws. One thing I'd like to show, can you come down on this? I've shown this before too, but I always like to emphasize it. When you get a new chuck or you get new jaws, the first thing you should do is grind off these edges. Okay, these sharp edges here, their only thing that they're useful for is taking your skin off. So, so grind those off. It doesn't take long. Just be careful if you use your grinder. Okay. Now let's just put this on. Let me. I want to take this little waste off. Okay, so when you put this on, and we're going to be careful, it needs to be firmly against the wood, but do not tighten it too much because you'll just strip it. Okay, so that should be good enough right there. We're going to do this for safety, so Roger doesn't have to catch anything. Oh, it's not too bad. It's off. I don't know if you can see it. It's not as bad as I thought it'd be, but it is definitely off. Okay, so I used to think that if you had, okay, where is there? If you had something like this, we now have two planes going, okay? And the wood, when I start cutting, I'm not cutting wood all the way. I'm cutting some air and I'm cutting wood. I used to think you needed a great big tool that would help you smooth this out. But that is not a good idea. If something is off-center, you don't want to be taking a big chunk out of it, okay, with a big tool in case you screw up. So you want to take a smaller tool and take nice cuts, so let's see what we're going to do. So you can hear okay. Now we want this to be smaller. It'll look better. But at the same time, well, it's really hard to turn this when it's this low. There we go. We don't want that foot to be too small, because I've made them where the foot was just a little too small. It had a hard time standing up. Okay. That looks okay. Maybe a little more. Okay, I think that'll work. Yeah, these people who come and do a demo with 2 or 3 tools, I like to use all my tools. Let's get this out of the way. And I'm going to do the quick method here on the bottom. I just want to check one thing. want to make sure that this... one thing I forgot to tell you, you really should epoxy this screw into the wood, okay? You don't want it backing out, and I've seen them back out if it didn't glue it. So in this case, we're in good shape, but that's something you should do. I just didn't want to fool with epoxy tonight during a demo. So this is why we did it, to get it down here. And it really does make a big difference in the look and the feel of the apple. Nice curve right here. It's still in grain. Okay. So we are done. Now we would sand, and you will see. I don't know. Can you see? Can you go? Or you go from above? So you can see these two plane, this was turned one way and this is turned the other way. Yeah, but it's not too far off. You probably start with about 150, and you want to keep this curve as you sand. Okay, so that's why you'd like to try to turn it nicely, so you don't have to sand it with 80 grit or something like that. Okay, and what I see is. On spindle turning, I see lots of scratches, circular scratches, because people think that they can sand like this as the lathe is running, then move to the next grit, and next grit. And I've seen pieces, they were sanded at 600 grit, but you can still see circular scratches. And they really show up at this high point right here. That's where the light's bouncing off. And if you have anything there, it will show. So my recommendation is, if I go here with 150, then I stop the lathe and sand with the grain, with that same grit. Clean it off with as the Brits say, kitchen paper, and go to your next grit. Do that every grit, and you won't have those scratches. Okay, so the apple is done. And now we got to do the stem. Oh, the worm. Yeah, well, I didn't get the worm tonight. Okay. So for this, so I know there's some people think that, let's see, I don't know how to do this. Somebody know how to stop this thing? Got it. Thank you. Okay. I think some people think that all I do is turn apples and pears, but I haven't really turned any in a while. And when I do, it's usually only just a set like this as a gift. And so I have this particular stem that I like to make out of ebony. I didn't use ebony tonight. I didn't think you'd be able to see it too well. And through the years, it's kind of given me some grief because it's sort of the fit the lid on the box syndrome. And so I would start trying to fit this into this apple, and as you know, you take a little off, it doesn't fit. You take a little off, it doesn't fit. You take a little off, it doesn't fit. Drives you nuts, okay? So I decided I thought about I remembered a guy at Swat's a number of years ago, and to size what he was doing, he used a drill gauge, okay? And so that's what I'm going to do to get very close to the finished diameter that I want. And the key here is tempered steel, okay? Now, these things come in, I saw one stainless steel, they come in plastic. Don't use those. Use tempered steel. And so, let's see, I have one more. There we go. So, we'll use that in just a second. Let's get down to the right size here. Oh, gotta do this. Whoa, okay, that was a surprise. Now, it sounded like it was there. Okay, that's free now. It wasn't hitting this, it was hitting something inside. Okay. Using a new lathe. Okay. So I don't know if you saw what I did. With ebony, I will buy 1-inch sticks and then rip them into quarters. And I have just a little piece here. But I would then grind off or sand off the edges, the corners, so that I could stick it all the way down into the headstock. And so in this case, I had I just I got some maple around, and you can just use that, and the next one you're ready to go, you just pull it out. You don't have to put little tenons on it or anything like that. You just pull it out and get to going. So here's another quick thing you can do. This is just some room key. Let's see, where are you? From some hotel in Kentucky. And so I just check here and check my length, and that gives me some idea of what I want to do. Okay, so let's get the right diameter first. Okay. Okay, so when I use this, I'm not going to go real far up. So you have the lathe going fast, and I would just take it and press it like this. Okay, next one down. Next one. Try to keep it straight up and down. Okay, and that gets it. That's where I need to be. I'm sorry? Yes, except years ago. So I don't know if they have them anymore. Yeah. What's that? I don't know if stainless steel would work or not, to tell you the truth. I don't know. One reason, you don't want to go too far because it does tear the wood up a little, okay? But now that is going to be down in the apple. Now I'm hoping that this is... I'm not going to take quite as much off as I think you should, because this hole, if this thing was drilling crooked, the hole maybe actually be too big. No? That's just about right. Okay, so instead of trying many, many times and cussing, I'm there. I'm going to make this a little shorter. Let's see. Now, here's something I will warn you about. Do not want to force this in, okay, and get it stuck in here at this point, because you will not be happy if you do that, okay? Okay, so right now, I would sand it to 1,000 grit, and that's the ebony. And then I finish them with a Beal buffing system. Okay? And I will warn you, especially if you're using ebony, you got to really hold on tight, because it seems like when you throw one of those little black pieces of wood across your garage or your shop, it just disappears. You never see it again. I think it's one of those, the parallel universes. I think it just goes straight there. Let me clean this up a hair. Okay, so then you just, let's see, I brought some sandpaper. Take your sandpaper and do that. Sand this little tip down to whatever grip that you did the rest of it on, and you have a apple with a dimple in the bottom and a stem. That's it. Any questions? Yes. If you put, you could, what I've thought about is turning it just as I did, and then filling this hole back up, and then drilling a crooked hole. And I will tell you one thing, when you're drilled a hole for the pear, you feel like you're way down here, and you're just barely gone over it all. You need to practice and see. You get how to do it. So you can do the same thing here if you wanted. But of course you'd have to, I would fill the hole up first and then drill it crooked. Okay. Any other questions? I would turn a little piece of wood to go in there. Just glue it in. And when you're drilling like that, you don't start this way. You start straight up and down, and then you turn. You have to move like this as the drill is going. So you need to practice, or else you end up with a ugly hole. So, anyway, that's it. Any other questions? Yes? Okay, a fractional drill bit is in between an 1/8 and 3/16 and something like that. And they've got all sorts. This is, the one that I use tonight is like point, like an 1/8 is 125. And this was like 106. And they have 109 and 116. And, so they've got, and they're $1 each. So they've all been resharpened. So they got them, they were throwaways, and they get them resharpened. And what's that? Yes, that's right. That's right. So they have a lot of other little fun things that you could buy. So, anything else? I guess that's it.